This video was developed to clarify the new True Blue Core assessment process. We hope that by watching this video that you feel more confident and prepared when you are selected for assessment participation. In this video, there are 5 overarching sections: an assessment overview with a comparison between our current program and the previous general education program, an assessment timeline detailing some of the stages of the process, an explanation of assessment artifacts with 3 examples of good artifacts, a brief overview of the True Blue Core rubrics and how they are used, and a helpful list of tips or successful strategies to ensure you're prepared for our assessment participation. Let's start by going back a little and see how we got to where we are now. We were formerly known as the General Education Program. After years of development, we launched the new True Blue Core in fall 2024. We now have 8 new student learning outcomes, an expanded list of course offerings, and a new assessment plan. With general education, we only assessed COM 2200, Math 1710, sometimes Math 1010, and English 1010 and 1020. We determined that this limited assessment was not a good representation of student outcomes. So with the launch of the new expanded curriculum, we also expanded the assessment process to assess courses across the entire program. With anything new, we want to make sure to clear up some possible misinformation. Assessment in the new True Blue Core measures student learning. So when we talk about those 8 new student learning outcomes, we want to make sure we are providing the opportunity for students to achieve them. We will assess across the core to ensure the student learning in relation to the outcomes is improving from year to year. We are not assessing faculty performance. While we care about the good lesson plans that you deliver and your classroom activities, we are not measuring faculty performance. Faculty who are selected to submit student artifacts during assessment should rest assured that their work, their performance, and their value as faculty members are not being assessed. We want to make sure that the core is meeting outcomes, so we aren't interested in grades or individual student achievement either. We just want to assess whether core assignments are giving students the opportunity to meet student learning outcomes. Our new assessment plan aims to ensure that the program meets the objectives and the mission of the True Blue Core, and that the True Blue Core Committee is given an opportunity to consider revisions and adjustments to the program as student and faculty needs change over time. The goal is an assessment plan that yields a living curriculum rather than a static program. What you see here is a snapshot of the data from our first year in the first assessment cycle in the academic year of 2024 to 2025. We share this data at our Closing the Loop retreat in August, so we can have a dialogue each year about how to improve. We also share this data with department chairs so they know where students are falling in their categories. Each assessment cycle spans 3 years with 4 overlapping phases, as you can see in this diagram. After informing and preparing campus at the end of the previous year, we collect data in the fall and spring semesters. We analyze data in the early summer, we reflect on the results of assessment in the early fall, and then we begin it all again. We were still wrapping up last year's reporting while this year's data collection began. The True Blue Core will notify departments which semester their categories will be assessed as early as possible. For example, scientific literacy and quantitative literacy categories were being sampled in the fall of 2025, and the artifacts from courses in the Human Society and Social Relationships category were collected in the spring semester of 2026. We sent emails in early fall semester 2025 to give plenty of notice to these departments that they were going to be included in the year's assessment. The True Blue Core must wait for midterm in each semester. when the final census numbers for enrollment are reported. Too much movement with adding and dropping takes place in the first half of the semester to achieve reliable samples. Therefore, it is imperative that core instructors anticipate assessment each year, that they identify their assessable assignment early and plan to retain a copy of assignments if returning graded work to students. This way, core instructors will be prepared to submit artifacts if they are randomly selected to participate. Once the course sections are identified, the TrueBlue Core collects core course information such as CRNs, enrollment numbers, and instructor names. Executive aides and administrative assistants are vital to this process because we request course information from them to begin our cluster sampling. We then randomly select a cluster sample of sections and contact executive aides and administrative assistants once more for student rosters. Once the course rosters are collected, we randomly select students from each of the randomly selected sections. Instructors from those sections are then notified as soon as possible to make them aware of their selection. If a student has dropped or does not complete the assignment, we do not collect anything from that student. This is a common problem with random sampling. At the end of the semester, they will be asked to submit artifacts from the selected students for assessment. Names are removed, but M numbers are retained. This last point is significant for instructors moving from the 2025 academic year to the 2026 academic year. All data collection for years prior to 2026 will be done in D2L. Moving forward, Canvas will replace D2L for TrueBlue Core data collection. Assessable assignments were approved by the TrueBlue Core Committee when your course was added to the core. They were required for adding your course. Assessable assignments are typically completed toward the end of the semester as a demonstration of student learning outcomes gained from the course. The assessable assignments that were submitted with the course proposal were only sample assignments, so instructors have the freedom to create their own assignments as long as they are aligned with the student learning outcomes. Artifacts are individual pieces of student work, such as final exams, presentations, essays, and more that are representative of the assessable assignment. Artifacts can be the assignment itself, but they can be supplemented or substituted by a grading evaluation rubric. An artifact can also be the TrueBlue Core rubric, but we encourage you to add as much additional information as possible so the assessment team understands the parameters of the assignment. Any context you can provide is helpful. Let's look at some examples from the first year of the first assessment cycle. There are multiple ways to submit a good artifact for the assessment team to review. This submission included the instructor's rubric they scored while the student was speaking in COM 2200, as well as the instructor's type feedback that they provided to the student on D2L. The rubric the instructor used was their own, but they clearly integrated the TrueBlue Core rubric components for the non-written communication category into their grading process. With the rubric, it was clear as to what the assignment was, what the expectations were, and how the students demonstrated their development of learning outcomes. In this second example, the submission included the assignment guidelines for a research paper, as well as the student's completed research paper. As you can see, the research paper that was submitted is ungraded, so the assessment team does not know what the grade for the assignment was. That's okay, because the student grade is relevant to the TrueBlue Core assessment process. With this artifact, the assessment team can easily discern the outcomes from the guidelines and assess whether the student met them by reading the research paper. In this third example, you can see that the submission included the instructor's rubric that they scored while the student was speaking. Unlike the previous example from COM 2200, the feedback from the instructor is written directly onto the rubric. Like the above example, the rubric the instructor used was their own, in which they integrated the TrueBlue Core rubric components for non-written communication. With the rubric, it was clear as to what the assignment was, what the expectations were, and how the student showed growth within the non-written communication category. As you can see, these three examples are very different and illustrate that your artifacts may not look like those of your peers. That's okay. But something we can also conclude from these three limited examples is that they were drawn from the first year of the first assessment cycle. So there are many more possible examples of good artifact submissions that we haven't even yet encountered. If you ever have any questions about what an artifact is or whether your artifacts are going to be sufficient for the assessment team to evaluate, please contact the TrueBlue Core office. The rubrics for assessment were adapted from the Association of American Colleges and Universities. The assessment team uses the rubric for each category to assign scores to the randomly selected artifacts, so we can determine whether the TrueBlue Core is providing the opportunity for students to meet the student learning outcomes. Again, we're not interested in students' grades, and we are not evaluating faculty performance. It's important to note that the first 3 years of assessment are really for assessing assessment. For example, the assessment rubrics are subject to change. Feedback from the Closing the Loop retreat in August 2025 indicated that if we modified some of the language in the rubrics, we might significantly improve our analysis. Once we complete a full 3-year assessment cycle, we will have enough feedback to begin refining our assessment plan, ultimately to meet our goal of improving student learning in the core year after year. We like to end this video with a list of successful strategies or tips for you to follow to ensure that you can participate successfully in the assessment if you are chosen during your category year. First, we suggest that you familiarize yourself with your course's assessable assignment. As we said, the assessable assignment submitted with the proposal when the course was first accepted into the core was only a sample. So make sure that you include an assessable assignment in your course, and if you've inherited the course from someone else, that you know what the assignment is. Also, if you're new to MTSU or new to the course, ask your chair, ask your colleagues, and definitely reach out to the TrueBlue Core office to ensure that you can familiarize yourself with the assessable assignment and the other requirements of being a core instructor. Next, we suggest that you align your assessable assignment with the TrueBlue Core outcomes, as well as your department's learning objectives and outcomes. We then suggest that you talk to your students about these alignments so that they can understand what we hope that they'll gain from taking a core course. Third, to ensure that you're prepared for the possibility of being selected for assessment, we recommend that you retain or make copies of student work. You may not be selected, and so you may not have to submit any artifacts for assessment, but with our multi-stage cluster sampling process, it is possible, so it's better to be prepared for this than unprepared. Retain or make copies of student work until the end of each semester, just in case. If you are selected for assessment, we invite you to provide as much supporting documentation as you can with your artifact submission. Grading rubrics, notes, feedback to students, notes about the assignment's design, or the assignment guidelines themselves all add context for the assessment team to better understand your assignment. Each year, we generate a report of assessment data at our Closing the Loop retreat in August. All core faculty are welcome to attend, so please join us. The results of assessment should improve student learning year to year, so we hope that you will use this assessment data to improve your own core courses. Lastly, please remember, you are not alone. Reach out to us at the True Blue Core office if you have any questions or concerns. Your department or program should also have True Blue Core liaisons and assessment team fellows. Identify who they are, connect with them, have dialogue with them, and make sure that you get the support that you need. We are here for you. Thank you for watching this video. We hope it has provided you with answers to some of your questions, reassured you and given you more confidence for participating in True Blue Core assessment, and dispelled any misinformation or concerns that you may have had. Please use our contact information to reach out anytime, and we're located in Peck Hall 217 if you would like to stop by and see us. Thank you so much.